Hello, and welcome to this 20th episode of 5 Minutes with NY Ike. I am Isaac Sokolik, or NY Ike on Twitter, and in this episode, we're going to speak about the role of the program manager and how that role has evolved and changed, in particular with organizations investing in agile methodologies and becoming agile organizations, adding roles like product management and leads and delivery leads, and what that means in terms of the responsibilities of the program manager. So let's talk about how the program management function evolved. And it started with projects, with a single project manager managing it. Projects got big and we started adding second and third teams, really executing on something bigger than a single project. We started calling them programs. We put a program manager in charge of making sure we delivered on business outcomes against those projects. But when you look at the list of responsibilities for that program manager, a lot of it was block and tackling and managing the execution of those programs, from defining the methodology and the leadership to sourcing talent to managing to a budget and a fixed set of financials to managing the timeline and compliance requirements. So a lot of functions around making sure around the execution of the project. And so we were left with a number of issues. First and foremost, in technology programs, where we know today that waterfall was a difficult way to manage projects with a lot of uncertainty. We had issues with just getting business outcomes from them because the program and project management function was so focused on just execution. And then we really had unhappy teams, teams that didn't want to be told what they had to deliver, how and when, and wanted a little bit more empowerment to be able to be innovative. And so we took a step backwards. 20 years ago, the Agile Manifesto came out. We've been iterating and improving Agile processes since. And first and foremost, we started getting rid of the terminology around projects. We started talking about agile products, right? Iterating and doing releases to improve the outcome of the product. We sent those outcomes and we assigned them to product management functions and said they needed to be responsible for the market, for customer and customer satisfaction, and to be that voice of customer and their values and needs when working with agile teams. We took away the command and control style functions of waterfall functions, and we gave a lot of empowerment to teams through self-organizing principles, but we also asked them to create standards where standards were viable and useful, particularly around process and technologies. When we came to timeline, we changed the terminology in their meeting. Instead of talking about milestones, we talked about releases and release cadences, being able to release a product on a schedule. We talked about roadmaps. We changed the word from fixed requirements to talking about MVPs and negotiating around variable scoped projects, and really about getting capabilities in front of customers on an iterative basis so that we could get feedback. We also took away a lot of the reporting functions, right? A lot of the tools that we use today handled that for us. And so a lot of the manual work around reporting programs really starts to disappear when teams are following execution standards. And so program managers were left with a lot of questions. What's my role in an agile organization? And what's my role working with agile teams and agile products? So let me answer that in the next slide. So let's talk about how to make the program manager successful working with agile organizations and teams. Let's start with making sure that we understand the responsibilities of leaders on an agile team. And in Star CIO's program, this includes the product owner, the team or tech lead, the scrum master, and the business analyst. And I've covered some of this in previous episodes of 5 Minutes with NY Ike. Okay, now as agile teams got bigger, we split the team. We wanted to implement the 2 pizza rule. And so as initiatives got bigger, we started adding teams and creating the notion of an agile organization of multiple teams with dependencies and collaboration required. If you follow the Star CIO guidebooks, I recommend 2 leadership roles on Agile organizations. The product manager, who's really in charge of markets and understanding customers and personas and prioritizing roadmaps and really understanding the value that needs to be delivered for those customer segments. And she is partnered with a delivery lead, someone who's responsible for delivering on time, for delivering on quality, for following security and compliance requirements in terms of how things are delivered. Okay, and I've covered the product management function in a previous episode of 5 Minutes with NY Ike. Now, what you don't see in here is the role of the PMO or the program manager, and the reason is they live and work on the periphery of Agile teams. I'm going to cover the PMO in a separate episode, but let's talk again about the program management function. Now, whereas product managers are focused on markets and customers, program managers are focused on delivering on the strategic requirements of the business. How is this program going to deliver growth or efficiencies or other KPIs that the organization is looking for? And in my opinion, they're doing this through 5 primary responsibilities, starting by representing strategic requirements. Now, these requirements, in effect, is putting the program manager to be the stakeholder for executives and working with the product manager in terms of priorities. Some of these could be requirements for specific sales channels. They could be requirements for specific strategic customers that are coming in with a contract in hand. And so representing those requirements to the organization and to the team is one of their primary responsibilities. Second thing is Agile organizations, when they deliver change to the organization in terms of process, in terms of how people are working, we used to call that change management. You could see in my episode, I call it transformation management. And usually it's the program manager who is responsible for making sure that process change is happening across the organization in response to new capabilities. In terms of things and areas that are outside of the dependencies of the Agile organization, vendors, standards, other things that the organization is doing to make the program successful, managing toward that and making sure that they're delivering outside of what the Agile organization is doing is the role of the program manager function. In terms of finance and budget, managing to those requirements, the program manager is essentially a client to the product manager and delivery lead to track those budgets. And lastly, in terms of being a stakeholder for compliance functions, the program manager is that stakeholder that could represent that back to the product management and delivery functions. So 5 different areas. Some organizations have less, some have more, but 5 different areas a program manager could be successful working with Agile organizations. I cover this in all of the roles and responsibilities tied to Agile programs in my Star CIO Digital Leader training class. I do this on demand, so you get to work directly with me around not only roles and responsibilities, but brainstorming around prioritization and the other factors that you see here. If you want to learn more about roles and responsibilities in my program, please sign up for our newsletter at the URL above. I hope you will sign up and subscribe to this channel. I put out 2 episodes, roughly 5 to 8 minutes in length every month. So I hope you'll subscribe to hear about the latest one. I thank you for joining this week, and I look forward to seeing you in future episodes.